Well, to all my friends and followers, I just want to say that I'm back and I will be talking about my book, The Blossoming of Christianity. And I'm going to try to, I want people to understand that God, He chose me to do this. Please believe me, it's for your soul's sake. I will be talking about my book, The Blossoming of Christianity, and the message that God has given me for the remainder of this summer as I make arrangements to go into India. You see, I want to try to get enough recognition in America to bring the scientific community in and have the church to give a dialogue. All I'm asking for is just for the news media, anybody, the scientific community, to assist me in setting up a dialogue so that the people can get the understanding of what God has given to me. These concepts are outside of conventional wisdom. So it's going to take a grooming and making ready by the high echelon in the church and the scientific community before the people can begin to get, to the food that's in this book. So first of all, I'm going to be trying to bring information, and I want the people to understand that God had given me this message to give to you, that you have to learn to interpret the scripture from the viewpoint of science. Now, when I say from the viewpoint of science, that's not to say that you got to necessarily that you got to go into a lot of complicated scientific equation. Of course, there is basic science that you need to learn, but it's just basic stuff. So don't let that frighten you away. You see, just basic stuff. It's just that people haven't been incorporating this type of thinking, in the scientific area within their everyday way of life. And the way they carry out their everyday procedures. They haven't been incorporating any ideas from the scientific community. But these ideas are so simple. All you got to do is begin to look at them. I mean, I get into all of that later on. But right now, I just want to let people know that God has told me that you have got to learn to interpret the scripture from the viewpoint of science, His word, which is to say that to use, language that like you use when you communicate with one another. If you go to someone and they tell you something, if there's no way you can verify it by facts, and that's what science does. See, these are verifiable facts that science come up with. If you cannot verify it by facts, then how would you ever know that person is telling you the truth? I mean, if you got to look to superstition or the supernatural to try to see if that person is telling you the truth, could you really trust that person? This is what God's saying. He said you've got to learn to understand His word in a context of a language that you use to communicate with everyone around you. Now, we owe God that much, and you begin to have a more meaningful relationship with Him. That's what what I would be trying to do as I begin to bring more information for the remainder of this summer, to the people, to get them to understand you can. And God is saying that you will have to learn to interpret the scripture from the viewpoint of science so that He can have a meaningful relationship with you and He can show you what you must do to bring about the kingdom of heaven and how you can avoid going to hell. You see, you can't learn how to avoid going to hell thinking about superstition and supernatural. You got to be able to relate to God as you relate to a person that you're talking around you. And He can see that what you're saying that you're doing. And you can see that what He's saying that He's doing because you verify one another's saying by fact. This is what you got to do with God in order to be assured that you're on a good position, in a good position not to go to hell. There's no other way. So God is saying you have to take a notice, step back from superstition and supernatural, and listen to what God is saying in this book. You see? So I'll be talking more about that, and especially about understanding that you have to begin to communicate with God just as you do with one another. You know, using type of language and understanding, which is from a scientific perspective. That's what it's saying. And I'll talk more on that later. But for the remainder of the summer, I won't be bringing messages to all America, trying to get the scientific community in, trying to get the high echelon in the church to come in, you know, so we can get something going so the people, the people in the general population of the Christian community can begin to see that this is real. But you see, so far, the scientific community hasn't said anything. But see, I think that's my fault. I haven't been able to get to them in a way. You know how it is. People are so head is so far up in the air. You know, you got to get way up there in the air in order for them to see what you're saying. So that's what I'll be trying to do. And you can help me if you just pass this video along to your friends and tell them to pass it on. That would be a good thing to do. There's no harm in it. You know, and if it is the right thing, God will bless you for it, you see. So why can't you just pass this video along and ask your friends to do the same? I'll be doing more on this for the remainder of the summer.